Joy Behar and the ladies at The View thought that they had invited a friendly guest over on their show today to talk about Trump and how bad he is and how evil he is. But they got a dose of reality right to their faces, and her face said it all. We're going to get right into it right now. My name is Clayton Kearns from TrendingPolitics.com. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're making videos like this all the time, and we have a lot more good stuff coming up for you guys on the YouTube channel as well. So let's get right into it. So Stephen A. Smith, ESPN commentator, who's been making the rounds around the political scene lately. There's even talk that he might run for president and try to, capture the Democratic primary in 2028. That would be insane if he tries, but he's been doing a media tour that lends me to think that he's partially serious. And on today's episode, Joy Behar brought Stephen A. Smith onto The View, and Joy Behar starts talking about how Trump didn't really have a mandate. And Stephen A. Smith put her in her place. This was a thing of beauty.
He's been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, and by the way, I used to watch Stephen A. Smith on ESPN a lot, and when he's just like staring off like that, like you know that something's brewing in his head. So take a look at what he says.
It is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should continue to do that. Don't continue to do it.
That is such a good point from Stephen A. Smith. Honestly, that might be one of the better points I've ever heard on this, because the Democrats are being so delusional, and it's probably going to end up hurting them in the long run. That's such a great point. He's saying, oh, well, by Democrats in The View saying there was no mandate, there was no landslide. Let's take a look at just how insane this map was. This is from the New York Times themselves. Take a look at this map. I know it might be kind of small on your screen, but every arrow that's pointing red went to Trump, obviously. And the ones that are longer red obviously went more to Trump. And 89+% of the counties moved more red compared to 2020. I don't know how the Democrats think that this was not a mandate. Like Stephen A. Smith, they won every single swing state. I don't understand how these people do this. And again, at the end of the day, it's going to end up hurting them in the long run. And the most hilarious part about this whole thing is that they went right back to delusion. Right after Stephen A. Smith left the show today, they went to their delusional ways once again. He just laid out facts for them, and then Karine Jean-Pierre, Biden's former White House press secretary, comes on and says he doesn't have a mandate. Just take a look at this and bear with me, because there's a very important point to be made here.
When Stephen was leaving, she said, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. I disagree with you.
Yes, I do.
And I was curious, and so that's why I was curious.
I do, on the mandate, on Donald Trump and his administration having a mandate. And we have to be super mindful and careful of this, because he does not have a mandate. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the numbers, just look at the facts. He won with the smallest margin of the popular vote since the 19th century. Yeah. There was no coattail, meaning that it is the House is at a razor thin, yeah. And he's on his way in the first 100 days to be the most unpopular president in their first 100 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is not a mandate.
In 70 years.
In 70 years.
The word man is in there.
Well.
So, obviously, Stephen A. Smith laid out all the facts, and these ladies they don't care about facts whatsoever. They're talking about how there was no mandate and how it was the thinnest margin of a popular vote. It was the first Republican popular vote victory in 20 years. Okay, 20 years of a trend that Donald J. Trump bucked, and they're sitting there saying it was the smallest margin of victory. Betting markets heading into election week didn't even show Trump winning the popular vote. It was going to be a close popular vote race. But you're telling me that all of this, take a look at this. Look at all of these votes and all of these counties that swung towards Trump in 2024 in California, in New York, in New Jersey, all of these blue states. Look at this. Even Colorado, a super blue state like Colorado. Actually, okay, I can zoom in here. Sorry about that. I should have zoomed in earlier. But you have states like Colorado went more red. Minnesota went more red, and Minnesota is blue. All the swing states. Taking a look at this. Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey. Look how deep red these states swung. This was a blowout of epic proportions no matter how you look at it, no matter how you slice it. Yet these people don't want to see the facts. And here's just another thing from Kyle Becker here. 49 of the 50 states shifted red in the 2024 elections. The state that shifted the most right, New York, Carolina, West Virginia, New Jersey, Maryland, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 out of those 5 states are all blue states. And then, she goes on to say that he's going to be one of the most unpopular presidents in history. This is just a couple weeks ago here from CNN. Check this out.
And holy smokes, I mean, look at what the difference is between now versus 8 years ago during the first Trump term, right? This is Trump's net approval rating on February 10th. You go back to 2017, Trump was already underwater at -5 points on the net approval rating. That's approval minus disapproval. What a difference 8 years makes. He's on the positive side of the ledger at +4 points. And again, it's not just the CBS News poll. We're talking about the Gallup poll. We're talking about the Ipsos poll. We are talking about the Pew poll. All of these respective pollsters have Trump in a better position now than they did 8 years ago. The bottom line is Americans are far more likely to say they like what they're seeing now versus what they felt during Trump's first term.
So again, and yeah, there is a more recent poll that shows it very close, or it shows Trump a little underwater, but these polls change every day. We're coming out with new polls every day, but the vast majority of approval polls show Trump above water in his approval rating. And actually, Scott Jennings was asked about this today, or this was yesterday on CNN, saying, well, he only has a 48% approval rate. Only? Do you understand how much propaganda and lies have been spread about this man? In fact, it's a miracle that he even won the popular vote. It's a miracle that he has a 48% approval rating with all the propaganda and lies being told about him. And Scott Jennings brings up a very, very good point about this. Check it out.
CBS's new poll shows 66% of people don't think he's doing enough to lower prices. It was similar in the CNN polling. How can he turn that around?
Well, number one, I think his job approval overall is actually pretty good when you look at where Joe Biden left office and you look at where congressional Democrats are. In the Quinnipiac survey last week, they were sitting at 21% approval. So as a matter of public opinion, Donald Trump is more popular than any Democrat in the country right now. On his priorities, I do think he needs to focus in this speech on Tuesday on exactly what his executive orders did on the economy and what he is doing with that Congress on this reconciliation bill. You know, they've not really passed his one big beautiful bill yet, which is going to contain all of his legislative priorities, from extending the tax cuts to major changes in our national energy policy, which I think is actually the fastest way he can bring down prices. So I am expecting, Jessica, a big portion of this speech to be telling those Republicans, you got to come with me and we've got to pass this agenda together. One other thing, immigration is going quite well for Donald Trump. His taking office has effectively closed the border. I'd also expect on Tuesday to him focus on that major success. I mean, we're having barely any border encounters at all now because people are not coming here because we have a new president who's quite serious about eliminating illegal immigration. But yes, Tuesday night, a lot of economy talk, maybe a lot of talk about what kind of shape the economy was in when he took over. And, you know, it's only been, a few weeks since he took office. So maybe asking for a little dispensation for the American people to unravel a mess that Joe Biden left behind.
I mean, couldn't be said any better than that. But if you think about what he said, he says Trump may be at 40% in this latest poll, but he is more popular than any other Democrat. And an amazing point about Biden, too. Biden was in the 30%. He was in the 30s with approval rating when he left office. Let that sink in. Let that sink in, everybody. So the Democrats are saying, oh my gosh, Trump is failing. He's only at 48%. Biden was getting trounced, and he had all of the media on his side. I don't understand how these Democrats are so moronic right now. But anyways, that's all I have for you today. My name is Clayton Kearns with Trending Politics. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And if you're still watching this video, give it a like. It really, really helps us out in the algorithm. So I appreciate you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.